All right, good evening and welcome to the August version of the St. Croix County Community Development Committee. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Sean Anderson.
Present.
Ryan Shirley.
Present.
Dan Hansen.
I'm here. So we'd like to approve the minutes. Does anybody have a problem if we just enter them as approved? Good. We're good. We'll start with public comment. Members of the public, we'll ask Mr. Kim O'Connell to come up to the microphone.
Thank you. Right now, we're having trouble. I'm a plumber.
One thing, Kim, you got to say where you're from.
Kim O'Connell, 504 3rd Avenue, Osceola, Wisconsin. Okay, so I'm a plumber. It's been happening for quite a few years now that we've had quite a time getting our permits through here. It seems timely, and I don't know if the supervisors know this, but now in this last few weeks, I've had owners call, builders call, and told they can't be told where their permit is in the process, which I don't think is right, and the owners are the owners of that permit. And they say it's in a policy, and I cannot find it in the policy anywhere. It's been weeks that they're holding these permits up, and these people are borrowing lots of money, sitting on their contracts and everything. I think there was 20-some permits in there, so you're looking at $10 to $15 million sitting in that office. So I think it needs some help or something to start helping these people, because they have a few people doing everything, and they just can't do it. And it's holding up. I mean, we're getting calls, they're getting calls. So that slows everything down. I'm getting calls. The owners, the builders are calling. So I don't know if there's a way to get it going better or what. I think something has to be done there, because, I mean, there's some of these people are really angry right now. So I don't know if you guys know that or not, but it's something you should know. And hopefully something gets done. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by, Kim. Next up, John Thomas from Lake Malalu Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Thomas, 727 Prairie Trail, Hudson, and I'm the serving president of the Lake Malalu Association. We had our annual meeting last night, and Dan was able to attend. We certainly appreciate that, Dan. I'm searching for words, but it was a lively meeting, let me say, because of all the algae blooms that we are experiencing on the lake this year. I've mentioned that in past comments here, and I very much appreciate your ongoing support in our attempts to address that. We have an approved lake management plan. It's available on our website at lakemalaluassociation.org, and you're very welcome to view it. I want to thank Evan and Alicia, who gave very nice presentations to the membership last night. Thank you very much. I'll see you next month.
Thanks, John. And you're right. St. Croix County staff did a really nice job, and I'm proud of them. So thanks for coming. All right, now we're going to have a public hearing on amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance for Star Prairie, and the exact citation is listed in the agenda, and John's going to give us a staff report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. The public hearing before you tonight is for a rezoning application in the town of Star Prairie. Property owners are Joan B. Wright Trust, and the other applicant is Patrick Flynn. The property location is 2355 West Cedar Lane. The request tonight is for 1/3 of an acre to be rezoned from R1 residential to R2 residential. And the purpose for this rezoning is to add some additional property to a parcel that has an existing dwelling on it to accommodate a sanitary sewer system. And we'll get to the location in just a minute. A little bit about the background of the property. You see it's on the peninsula of Cedar Lake within the town. Again, the parcel size that it would be added to would be 0.2 acres, which is highlighted in red. And again, that's the Flynn parcel that has the existing dwelling on it. This aerial photo better depicts the peninsula. The subject property that the subject rezoning would be added to is 2355 Cedar Lane. You see some of the historic developments, some of the older structures, the single-family structures on the shoreline of Cedar Lake. And then this certified survey map best depicts the request for tonight. So the parcel in blue is the existing Flynn parcel, and on the parcel is an existing dwelling, a boathouse, and also an accessory building. And then also the current property is served by a holding tank for the sanitary sewage. And so the objective of the owner is to purchase 0.33 acres, which is shown in yellow, which is owned by the Joan B. Wright Trust. The parcel in yellow would then be added to the parcel in blue to constitute one lot. And the reason why the rezoning is needed is because the existing parcel with the structure is zoned R2. The Joan B. Wright property, highlighted in yellow, is zoned R1. And under county policy, one parcel cannot have two different zoning designations. So that is the purpose of the rezoning tonight. One thing I would like to clarify for the record, this blue line that represents the southwest border should be depicted on this location right here if you can follow my cursor. So again, that blue line needs to be moved up. And again, it's just for illustrative purposes, and we will have it corrected for the county board meeting. So that's the basis of the request tonight. Again, 0.33 acres to be zoned from R1 to R2. The applicant, once and if the rezoning is successful, they would need to go through a certified survey map process to merge these two parcels. It would have the consistent zoning, and then they would be allowed to apply for the sanitary permit to install the drain field and the septic system in the parcel that's currently designated yellow. There just isn't room to do it on the existing parcel. So when combined, the two parcels will be over the half-acre requirement in the Shoreland Overlay District, which is an overlay zone that is under DNR rule. The requirement is that at least 20,000 square feet would need to constitute a parcel. When the two lots are merged, the parcel size will be about 23,000 square feet and meet the DNR regulations. However, it would still be under the 2-acre lot minimum that is currently under the town of Star Prairie Land Division Code. So our ordinance, the county ordinance, if you look under chapter 15.610, it does give our cities or the county zoning administrator authority to approve a boundary line if it will lessen the nonconformity. So in this case, we are making the existing parcel in blue more conforming. It will be less conforming and meet the intent of the code, which would allow an improvement to the property. In this case, it would be an improvement to the sanitary sewer system. A little bit of background on the property, surrounding zoning. Again, you see the Wright Trust property. It's about 54 acres in size. That's currently zoned R1. The subject property you see is highlighted in blue. The Flynn parcel, along with other existing parcels with dwellings on it on the shoreline of Cedar Lake, are zoned R2. Next, we take a look at the comprehensive plans, which is a document that guides future development in the town. And when we take a look at the Star Prairie future land use map from 2010 to 2030, they do show the peninsula area is being developed for residential. which in the town's case allows small lot rural residential development, generally comprised of existing residential subdivisions and new subdivisions. So the request would be consistent with the town plan. And very similarly, the county future land use plan has this guided for residential as well. And under the definition of residential, these properties could be zoned Ag 1, Ag 2, R1, or in this case, R2 residential. Next, we take a look at some of the natural resources. This parcel is within an environmental corridor primarily due to the significant wooded landscape of the area and the proximity to Cedar Lake. The next land use map just shows that this area is within the Shoreland Overlay District, as I mentioned earlier. Once the new parcel is created, it would meet the minimum guidelines under the DNR regulations. And because this property is within the shoreland area, we were required to send a notice to the DNR. I did have a brief communication with them yesterday, and they do not see any concerns with what's being proposed. Next, we take a look at some of the other features on the property. And as you can see, there are no significant slopes on this parcel. It's fairly level. Next, we look at the town of Star Prairie to see if they had submitted any recommendations. We do know that they did have it on an upcoming agenda. However, those items are going to be discussed after our hearing tonight. But as of now, we have not received any recommendation from the town. The next items 1 through 6 just talk about applicable land use policies and objectives, making sure that there are no adverse impacts to natural resources. In this case, any installation of a new sanitary system would need to maintain a 50-foot setback from the OHW or the ordinary high water mark of Cedar Lake, and that can be accomplished. We also talk about the parcel and the project being consistent with Chapter 12 sanitary, Chapter 13 land division, and the zoning ordinance. So as the project progresses and if the rezoning gets approved, the applicant will need to merge the properties through the land division process. They will need to apply for a sanitary permit through Chapter 12. And Chapter 15, the setbacks for the sanitary will need to meet the zoning requirements. In terms of criteria that the committee will use tonight, the committee shall recommend approval subject to the following, shall only recommend approval subject to the following conditions: consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with the natural resource management plan, along with the zoning ordinance and other codes discussed previously. Also, that the town has not disapproved the rezoning request, and that the rezoning and proposed use is consistent with surrounding districts and surrounding land uses. The options for the committee tonight are to recommend approval, recommend disapproval, or table for additional information. And based on our review and recommendation, our staff would recommend approval of the request due to consistency with the long-range comprehensive and the future land use maps of the county and the town. Under number 3, as I mentioned earlier, the town of Star Prairie has not submitted any recommendations at this point, but they have not recommended disapproval of the request. And that staff believes the use is consistent and can comply with the standards in Chapter 15 zoning ordinance. That concludes the overview, and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we have any questions? No, we're still in the public hearing, so do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak for and favor of this rezoning? We do not. Oh, anybody would like to speak opposed to it? We do not. Very good. We will end the public hearing on this, and we will take up the public hearing on the resolution to amend Chapter 30 Parks, and we will ask for that staff report at this time.
As directed by the Community Development Committee at last month's meeting and previously, we have held a public hearing and previously drafted language changes to it. The purpose is to update, mostly, the most important purpose that generated this is to update exactly where hunting is and is not allowed on county park properties. So this clarifies that. Also, we took this opportunity to clean up a couple of names of county park properties that needed some change, and also clean up the admission fee language and the watercraft rental language and the self-registration and commercial use permit language. Also, as requested by the committee at last month's meeting, this public hearing also identifies and prohibits most usage of trail cameras on county park properties, but only on county park properties. That language, we can go through it here, and this resolution would then go to our County Board of Supervisors if adopted by this committee or recommended by this committee for adoption. Would become effective upon passage. I can go over the language if you would like. I have to kind of jump. There's only a few pages in which the language is proposed to be changed. This is where it clears up the names of the two of the properties, county park properties. This has got to jump. That's why I marked it. Get to the page.
Let's do it this way, Ellen. I'm going to ask if anybody from the public is here to speak for or against this, and then if not, we'll switch into business items and handle them 1, 2, and then talk about that during business items.
There's been no change other than to add the language requested last month by this committee to what was proposed at our meeting last month.
Very good. Is there anybody here from the public who'd like to speak either for or against this resolution? Seeing none, I'll end the public hearing, and we'll pick up the business items.
All right. Which
Thank you.
item would you like me to put the cursor on? As I'm up.
We're gonna go back to business item number 1 and the zoning. We're taking them in order. So business item number 1, the Star Prairie rezoning. We have a resolution in the packet. What we need is a motion to recommend this to the county board. Okay, so we have a motion to recommend this to the county board. We have a second. Moved and seconded. Any conversation? Any questions? Moved and seconded. Yes.
Quick question. Do we know when the town of Star Prairie is going to meet to potentially approve this? Is it going to be before our next county board meeting?
So the Town Planning Commission, I believe, meets tonight. Yes.
I'll follow through with that. John, if the Town Planning Commission decides they don't like this, then what do we do?
Well, we would know before the county board meeting. And there is a process by which the town could petition the recommendation of the CDC. So should they choose to not be in favor of it, they could come back and submit a resolution within 20 days of your recommendation. So that, I guess that would be a option the town would have. But haven't really heard anything from the town. Usually if you hear a town that has concerns about a request, you would know even before they have a meeting to discuss it. So I don't have a lot of concerns with this one, but yeah, you're right. We will certainly get that information before the county board meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and I'll just say that because the staff recommends it and because it's consistent with both the town and the county's comprehensive plans, it's pretty straightforward. So let's put her to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving on, let's talk about the business item number 2, amending Chapter 30, Parks. We'll start out with, do you want to go through the red lines and look at the changes? or do you want to talk about specific items? I'm asking committee members. We can go through and look at every single change, or we can, if you have any questions, we can take an.
I think I'm comfortable with the changes. There's just an amendment I want to make. I would like to amend the jail cameras section of it to go back to by the placement or use. I'm on page 52 right now.
Right, found it.
The placement or use of trail or game cameras by any member of the public are allowed only in areas open for hunting from September 1st to December 31st.
So reversing the conversation before.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation before kind of had it open all year. This is only allowed in areas for hunting for 4 months of the year, kind of around deer season generally, is what I was thinking.
What paragraph are you looking at, Sean?
So I'm looking at page 52. It's currently bullet point 7, number 7, towards the bottom of the page.
The placement or use of trail cams or game cameras by any member of the public is prohibited at all park properties.
So I want to change it to are allowed only in areas open for hunting between September 1st and December 31st, but only between September 1st and December 31st, and is otherwise prohibited. Something to that effect.
Can we have Julie try to read it back to make sure that we captured what you wanted?
Yep, yes, please. Yes, please do that.
I don't type that fast. Okay, so then we're going to start with
Read the whole paragraph.
the placement or use of trail or game cameras by any member of the public is prohibited at all park properties or allowed. I don't know
How
if
have we
can
said,
have or
accept? Yeah, accept, sure. Try accept.
Except when allowed in certain, oh, I don't know how to word that, except.
Except in areas open for hunting between the days of September 1st and December 31st.
Between the dates or days?
Between the dates of, yeah.
Dates of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That sounded weird as it came out, too.
Okay, here we go. The placement or use of trail or game cameras by any member of the public is prohibited at all park properties except in areas open for hunting between the dates of September 1st through December 31st,
Dates of.
unless authorized in writing by the park administrator or when used for park security purposes.
Exactly.
Would it be better if before the word unless you said or and? Just because it's a separate from that the hunting between September 1st and December 1st does not need authorization by the park administrator, correct?
Correct, yep.
So then shouldn't that clause be separated with an or an and?
Or unless authorized by the park administrator.
Or unless?
Not or, just unless.
Just unless, okay.
Let me, I'm going to type it out real quick and make it make sense.
Okay.
And then while
I
we're
just
doing
didn't want that to
Ryder,
modify the
second that?
the second phrase. First,
Yeah.
it's prohibited generally,
Mm-hmm.
but allowed for hunting during certain dates. And then thirdly, it's unless it's allowed by the park administrator. So I just want to make sure one doesn't modify the other.
Mm-hmm.
job.
Thank you for your forbearance. It'll be worth getting it right. Do you mind if I ask Dennis if he has any concerns? This constricts it just enough to limit it to hunting. I think it's fine. Then we don't have cameras all year long for any other reason. I think this is a great compromise. But we haven't voted, so we'll get to that point.
I think I've got what I want now. All right. So, oh, now it disappeared on me. There we go. The placement or use of trail or game cameras by any member of the public is allowed in areas open for hunting, but only between the dates of September 1st and December 31st, unless authorized in writing by the park administrator or when used for park security purposes. And then the rest of it can stay.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
The placement or use of trail or game cameras by any of the member of the public is allowed in areas open for hunting between the dates of September 1st and December 31st, or is only allowed, excuse me, between the dates of September 1st and December 31st, unless authorized in writing by the park administrator or when used for park security purposes. And then the rest of it can stay as written.
Does that cover hunting?
Yeah.
So you removed completely the phrase prohibited at all park properties, correct?
So, you have it, Julie? Can you read it back one more time, or do you want someone else to try?
I can read it. Sean, you tell me if this is what you want.
Okay.
Sean, can you email that to
The
Julie?
placement or use of trail or game cameras by any member of the public is only allowed in areas open for hunting between the dates of September 1st through December 31st, unless authorized in writing by the park administrator or when used for park security purposes.
Yeah. Because I think that is only allowed kind of is a different way of saying prohibited. If you're restricting, you're saying it's allowed only in that moment. You don't need the word prohibited because that's kind of said in the only statement.
So Sean's putting that forward as an amendment. I'll need a second. So we have a second. I'll ask for a vote on the amendment. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes. Now, is there any other question with regard to the rest of the ordinance? Any other comments? All right, let's vote on recommending this to the county board for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ellen.
Let's move to the next item.
Moving on. Business item number 3 is consideration of mandated discretionary services, UW Extension, which is Kristen Bruder and Dr. Carrie Weiss.
That's a great, yeah. Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. UW-Madison Division of Extension, St. Croix County is a department under your jurisdiction as a committee. and we were asked to put together the mandated versus non-mandated services, as other departments were as well. Before we get into those questions, I wanted to just give a brief overview of Extension and the services that we offer, because I think we're a little bit different than other departments in the county. So, is it just right here, Julie? Look at me. All right, and got it. Perfect. Okay. So, my name is Kristen Bruder, as Supervisor Hanson mentioned. I'm the Area Extension Director. I actually cover 3 counties, Pierce, Polk, and St. Croix counties. My position is fully state paid, so my position is not funded by the counties. And my job is to supervise the staff in each of the 3 counties, oversee the programming, make sure the needs are being met, and be that liaison between the county and the state. So that's my role. And my purpose is to just kind of give you a brief overview before we take any questions. And I see that shifted on me. But this is Extension's mission. I'm not sure if you've heard of Extension services around the state, but we do embody the Wisconsin idea. The Wisconsin idea is taking the education from the university and bringing it to all borders of the state. So we like to say our classroom is the entire state of Wisconsin, rather than some of the brick and mortar buildings of some of our other institutions. We're a statewide network. We have local ties, so all of our educators that are serving St. Croix County are local. They live and work right here in the region or the area. And then we have a wide range of regional and state specialists and staff that work with our local educators to bring the programming to St. Croix County. So this is a really confusing and a little bit small, but I just wanted to give you the breadth and depth of what Extension looks like. So we have 3 different areas, if we will. We have the programmatic side of things, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. Then we have the geography side. That's kind of the areas. My area is called Area 5. And then we have the operations and policy side of Extension. So this is kind of the behind the scenes work. Carl Martin is our Dean and Director and oversees all 3 of those areas. So before I get into the actual programs and what we do, I wanted to, as we look at the mandated versus mandated services, I wanted to give you a quick brief overview of how we're funded here in St. Croix County. Should probably follow along so that I make sure I cover everything. So what is in the Extension budget? So first of all, we have we have program areas and educators that are housed here in St. Croix County or in the area. Each of those positions are called co-funded positions. So you co-fund those positions with the state of Wisconsin, Madison, UW-Madison. And those position fees are $44,900 per FTE, full-time equivalent. And what that means is that each position around the state, no matter where you're located, where our educators are located, the county pays a flat fee. And that's for the educator's salary and fringe benefits. Then the state covers the rest of the educator's salary and benefits. If the county has 1 educator in each county, they get a $10,000 discount. So that is built into the contract. And then we have operational costs, and those operational costs are funded by the county solely. We do have state funding that helps with our operations as well, but most of that is covered by the county. So our 2023 budget, if you look at the position fees, this is how that's broken down. So, and I'll go through these program areas in a moment. So youth development, we have 1 full-time equivalent for youth development in St. Croix County, and that is a price total of that flat fee of $44,900. You have a 1 FTE of health and well-being, and then you have a crops educator, dairy educator. They're at a 0.25, 2 separate educators. They cover a 4-county region, so you are charged at a 0.25 FTE for those. A horticulture outreach educator shared with Pierce County, and community development, and that is Carrie, and she is also covers Polk County, so that isn't 0.5 FTE here in St. Croix County. We also have, and then there's your first educator discount. Then we have the not co-funded positions, and that would be our support associate, and we have a summer and fall intern that is in there as well. Our operations cost, and then that's the total budget. And there we go. So that's how we're budgeted with those FTE. What you get for that package as well is those state resources that you don't pay for. So regional and state educators, specialists, and also on that operations side, because all of our educators and staff are state staff, we take care of the HR, we take care of some of the IT issues, the software that educators use. So on the state side, we take care of any professional development, although we do have some costs in there for St. Croix County as well. But those operation pieces, the state takes care of. So when we look at our programming and just break that down really quickly, what I wanted to show you, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we could be here all day, and Dan knows that, and I've often been told I need to cut it shorter because each program area could go an hour. They do some great work. So our Agriculture Institute, and so you saw the crops, and then you saw the soils educator. I just want to give you a flavor, first of all, of what the Institute is, who is in charge of that Institute. Again, this is at no cost to the county. Heidi is a complete state-paid position, and she is the Institute director that oversees all of the agriculture programs across the state. Here in St. Croix County, these are your educators. Michael Geisinger is our crops and soils educator, Ryan Steary is our dairy educator, and then Diana Alfuth is our horticulture educator. And you can see the programs that they support, including the Master Gardener program. Community development, this is Carrie's area. I'm going to have her speak to this in a moment. So these are some of your state staff. We've got Benoit Jacob, who is our Institute director, and Sarah supports Carrie's work as the program manager. And you get to see her in person, so that's better than a picture, I think. Yeah, but that's one of her better pictures. We always have a hard time getting a picture from Carrie. So Carrie focuses on organizational and leadership development, and so she'll speak to that in a moment. Our Health and Wellbeing Institute, these are our state staff. Amber oversees the programming at the state level, and then Angie is our program manager that supports Selena, who you'll see here. Selena programs mainly in behavioral health and does some programming in healthy eating and active living as well. FoodWise is actually a federally funded program. So you'll see the state manager, Catherine, and the program manager, Jill. Those are state staff. But Katie, who is our FoodWise coordinator, and Karen, who is our FoodWise coordinator and our FoodWise educator, they're completely funded by a federal grant that is administered through Extension. So they are here, they cover all 3 counties, Polk, Pierce, and St. Croix counties, although they're both housed here in St. Croix County. And they administer the FDA portion of the education arm of food share programming. I don't know, that these got a little messed up in translations, so I apologize. Positive Youth Development Institute, so Matt is our institute director and Jennifer is our program manager at the state level. Your local contact here is Heather Vierling. She does community youth development and Wisconsin 4-H programming, although she will be transitioning to a new role beginning September 1. She's taking on a 3-year state assignment, and we have hired a backfill for her position in that 3 years. So Sky Holt is our new 3-year backfill with the opportunity to continue if Heather continues at the state level. And then we have the Natural Resources Institute. We don't currently have staff, but we are covered by this institute through some of our regional program educators, and they're dealing with water quality, soil quality, and some of those natural resource areas. So that's a quick overview of our programming. Obviously, I could go into more depth about what that looks like, but what we wanted to do was give you just a flavor of what does programming even look like with these institutes within your community in St. Croix County. So I invited Carrie here to kind of give that flavor. You can translate what she's saying into some of the other work that our educators do, but just under the auspice of what their program areas are. Carrie is community development, so I'm going to let her take the lead.
It's all right if I visit with you from here? Okay, thank you. Good evening, and thanks for having me. As Kristen mentioned, my name is Carrie Weiss, and I work within the Community Development Institute. When you bring in a community developer, what you get is a three-pronged sort of attack of program. That is what I do, which is organization and leadership development. You also get economic development, support, and local government. So any one of these resources can be brought to you, but what I do is I'll work and program in primarily that organization and leadership development. I just wanted to share, I guess, basically 3 highlights of what I'm currently sort of working on as a way to speak to how I function within the community and the sort of things that I might provide. First, I do a lot of what I call coalition and leadership coaching. I'm actually a trained cognitive coach, but also a coalition coach. What this means is it's an art of questioning to help a practitioner reflect upon what they're doing in order to troubleshoot and sort of work through issues. I find this to be really effective really there's no need for me to go into leadership institutes or workshops on a regular basis. I've hosted that kind of work, but quite honestly, there's technical sort of nuances to all programming. I'm trained in ed leadership. Those sorts of programs are found all the time at the university level. And so as a result, I don't need to provide that technical support. What I'd rather do is provide individual support such as coaching. And that seems to be very necessary in this area and also welcomed. I also do nonprofit work. I was part of an initiative, a statewide initiative last year to write a program for nonprofit leaders. I launched here last fall. The program wasn't as well received or attended for a lot of different reasons, in part COVID, but also because it was a 12-week program that was offered on a weekly basis for 2 hours. The time commitment, it was just really too intense for those people who were essentially shoestring sort of staff. They couldn't always make it. In taking feedback and also as a result of the partnership that we grew with the St. Croix Valley Foundation, what we determined was there was much more need for coaching, there was much more need for mentoring, there was much more need for networking and resource sharing. And so now we're attempting to grow that and move that program into that kind of, I guess, packaged deal so that nonprofits can better receive services. And finally, I do a lot of capacity building. At current, I'm working with St. Croix County's Public Health Department. They needed to, and approached me about conducting a strategic plan. They have cycled out. Every 3 years, they have to have a new strategic plan. When they approached me about it, they also wanted to sort of revise and reboot what kind of services and or their framework. And so in working with that strategic plan, they also asked to be strength based or focused. And so we conducted a strength finders assessment for their staff. We are aligning that to their strategic plan. We're going to sort of implement that into their workflow so that they can not only work on their interpersonal and intrapersonal, I should say, as well, but then also to become more efficient in their work and aligned across the board. There's a lot that we're doing with that. We're trying to really build that out as a way to be really customized, to work with leadership, but also to work with the staff so that efforts can, really improve throughout their organization. I think, for all 3 of these things, what I'm really expressing is, we're resource sharing, connected across the state, as Kristen said, fitting the needs that are out here in the area, and then also really naming program as a way to be really sustainable and continue to grow with the organizations that we're working with.
If you have any questions, we'd be happy to entertain those.
I appreciate and love the academic language that you guys use all the time, but I want to ask you a question back using a more common vernacular. When you say that you're doing the strategic plan for public health, that's in place of hiring they don't have to hire a consultant to do that, right? So would you say that it's fair to say that you're saving the county a boatload of money? That's value added. That's a value added service, right?
That would be yes. And we great observation, Supervisor Hanson. And that's what we offer, is that value added. It's services that would cost money to come in to, and we don't, we work with county departments and the community, and we don't overlap services, but we bring in that value added piece. So yes, in this instance, they would likely have had to bring in and pay for that consultant to do the work that Carrie and Selena's working with you on that as well, correct? Yeah.
So with UW Extension, you get college professors who say 12 words every time they need to use 3, and I love them, but most of what they do is not, and we have this in the packet, most of what they do is not mandated services. However, what they do is save the county a boatload of money through value-added services, and I would draw your attention to that.
And if I could add one thing about with the mandated versus non-mandated, we don't have mandates here in the county. The county doesn't have mandates in regards to extension. However, we do deliver mandated services, especially, and you'll see those in the packet as well. So we are the education arm for some of those mandated services that farmers might need in order to for pesticide applicating. And so we offer that education for mandated services that people need in order to, work on their farm or do other, especially and with the youth, some of the youth mandates. So we certainly deliver that education.
I was at Farm City Days on Saturday out at the Bomaz farm, and there you have a nice great big display in the exhibits. UW Extension and Ryan was there. I think it was Ryan.
Yeah, they both were there.
Yeah,
Ryan
it was Ryan. Really nice, and they were answering tons of questions, and there were people standing, a cluster of people the whole time. It's good to watch.
Fantastic.
So, and the county employees did a great job too. So,
thank you.
Any questions, comments, suggestions? Okay, thank you very, very much for coming. Moving on. We'll invite Brett to come up and give us a presentation on the land information and zoning.
All right, good evening, Chair Hanson and committee. Brett Boudreau, Planning and Land Information Administrator, and tonight just want to take this opportunity to introduce you to our division, the Planning and Land Information Division. I'm the administrator. We have several areas that we work in. Planning, comprehensive planning, long-range planning is one of them. Real property listing, which works with the local assessors and the local communities to process all documents, land transfers and splits to make sure that we have fair and equitable property assessment and taxation, along Along with that is our GIS and land records. And then finally, we have a staff person in our group that works closely with water resources and education and outreach, and works very closely with Tim and his staff. How do I go from just page to page, or do I just scroll? Okay. Here's an outline of our various people and their positions within the department. There are 9 of us, including our intern this year. We have an intern from UW River Falls learning about comprehensive planning and land use. Planning, just kind of a word cloud of what we do. Development, agriculture, water. We're interested in housing, residential growth, economic development, natural resources. So we work to develop these comprehensive plans and long-range plans in concert with the local communities, the towns and the villages to try to guide future development in the county. It's an example of some of our plans. We have a comprehensive plan from 2012 to 2035. A bicycle pedestrian plan was adopted in 2017. And our Eckerd Bluffland Master Plan from 2022, which was adopted. You'll notice that the comprehensive plan was first adopted in 2012, and we had a small amendment, a future land use map change in 2017. These plans need to be updated every 10 years. We'll be embarking on, we are working on a project now to update that comprehensive plan. And as you noticed in the rezoning tonight and all the other rezonings, we depend on those comprehensive plans, or you depend on those comprehensive plans when making those rezoning decisions. The next thing is grants. We do a lot of grant writing. John is instrumental in writing grants for our various projects. We've used the TAP grant, Transportation Alternative Program grant, administered by the state. It's federal transportation money. There's an 80% federal, 20% local match. We were able to do our bicycle and facilities plan through that back in 2017, and then using that plan, we were able to apply for and successfully get our Highway 35 corridor plan going, or grant and off-road trail. We've gotten DNR stewardship grants for Glen Hills Group Campground in concert with our other staff in parks. And then finally, we recently applied for a federal appropriation funding for the Eckerd Blufflands Park. That was a new grant that we tried for. We'll see how that turns out. This is just an example of that TAP grant project. We were looking at a 3-phase project starting here in North Hudson to the Eckerd Bluffland. Second phase would take us up to V and 35 and then over to the state park, and the third phase ultimately up to the Loop Trail, and then that would connect into the Stillwater, Minnesota, Browns Creek, and the whole thing also goes south to the I-94 bridge and crosses there into Afton. So that would be the ultimate long-term plan, and those TAP grants are an important part of that. Comprehensive plans, comprehensive planning, long-range planning. Wisconsin state statutes dictate what needs to be in a plan. There are 10 items here, including the public participation plan. We need to talk about issues and opportunities, housing, transportation. All of those items listed there need to be addressed in a comprehensive plan. Much of what we use and you use is in number 8, land use, dictating future land use. But we need to update our population figures to try to develop projections for how much land would be used for various land uses. So that'll be one of the items that'll be coming up in our comprehensive plan update. This is some of our planning projects that we're working on now or will be working on soon. We have a comprehensive plan update. We're going to review those issues and opportunities, housing, agriculture, future land use, and make those updates and then implement them going forward into the future. Another item that we're updating is the Farmland Preservation Plan. That is required by DATCAP, Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection, and that's due by 2024, and it's an important plan for our farmland owners, agricultural producers that have land in ag-zoned land or in one of our ag enterprise areas, which was going to be, I think, at the next county board meeting, or we have a new ag enterprise area in the county through one of our staff is working on that, so that's exciting. And that's important because it provides tax credits for those landowners. And then our outdoor recreation plan update, required to be updated every 5 years, and we also use that for grant eligibility. Other plans for future growth, we're working with some of our local townships right now, the town of Somerset, town of Richmond, town of Baldwin, working to help them update their comprehensive plans. And then we also provide town support through rezoning requests. We get zoning questions and research other regulations for them. We also do work on ordinances, drafting ordinances, working with our regulations staff on what they see as updates that are needed, general zoning, floodplain, shoreland, other ordinances that we might touch. Some of our projects that we've completed in the past and our current and future projects, we updated the general zoning, which is chapter 15 in 2019, shoreland zoning in 2020, and then the chapter 18 floodplain was updated and adopted this spring. So, and then our current projects that we're working on, we have a series of amendments for chapter 15. One of the things that we want to do is keep our general zoning ordinance current. We adopted it there in 2019, and since that adoption, we have recognized that there's some things that we want to clear up. We've had some comments from citizens, developers, so we're working to bring those changes to you. Looking at a public hearing in September, we've sent that information out to the local towns for their input and feedback. Then we're also going to be working on our Chapter 13 land division amendments. Again, I wanted to mention this earlier to make sure that everybody recognizes that we work almost exclusively with the towns, the undeveloped areas, right? Not the villages and cities. We don't have zoning or planning authority there. Not that we don't work collaboratively with them, but it's a kind of a separate thing. Chapter 13 amendments, as I said, land division, and then we are also researching some other regulations or interest around special event camping. I'm kind of switching gears here to our real property description. And when I looked at this slide, I thought I need to emphasize how important this piece of our department is, because we are the link between the local assessor and the property records here at the Register of Deeds. So our staff makes changes to all the property records. We review legal descriptions and maps and parcels against the previous legal description to make sure that people are taxed and assessed appropriately for fair taxation. There are like 13 different local assessors in the county, so we end up providing a variety of different data sets to them, and the workflow is different for each one, which makes it interesting. We correspond a lot with property owners, realtors, attorneys on different legal descriptions, parcel assessments. We have 2 staff, and we review approximately 5,000 documents annually for this group. And it kind of provides one of the foundational or basis elements for our geographic information database. And I'd like to throw up these pictures to just show, this is how we mapped parcels in the late 1980s and through the early 90s, was with an ink pen and Mylar, and that's what's called a Leroy lettering set. So you would trace in a little thing to draw your annotation and label your parcels. In this next slide, Dan had asked about a joke. This is not a joke, it's kind of humorous. This is a legal description. So we have to, our staff reviews legal descriptions. And this was a legal description for a parcel that was part of the old Dibbos in downtown Hudson. Through and by the means of the front stairway entrance to the said building as now same exists, which extends from said stairway in a westerly direction to the west wall of the toilet. Now occupying a part of said hallway, including the use of the commons. So yeah, it's a very interesting process reading some of these legal descriptions, and perhaps the new legal description comes through and it doesn't go out to the west wall of the toilet. We may need to make a new tax parcel. So that was kind of an interesting one. And then moving on to land records or land information. Here's a quote I found from way back in yesteryear of 1980. There's a critical need for better land information system in the United States to improve land conveyance procedures, furnish a basis for equitable taxation, provide much needed information for resource management and environmental planning. And I think that's what our land records program does, a lot of that. We have definitely improved our land conveyance procedures and I think made them quicker for everybody and to doing their research. And this background is our digital elevation model from our 2014 Lidar. So it's a highly accurate elevation model, so kind of a cool map. And just a couple of examples. So previously I showed you that paper map. This was our electronic map with an aerial photo behind it. And we weren't able to do that before, obviously, until we had this technology, parcel mapping and aerial photography. This is an example of our LiDAR data and slopes. We regulate slopes for erosion control and drainage here. And this is a slope map with some parcels on it and a road that goes through it. And our land division, our zoning staff use this information on a daily basis as we work with landowners and developers through the process. And previous to having LiDAR data, which we got in 2014, and earlier than that, we had some other products, but there wasn't any good elevation data. And across the county, before somebody started on a development project, they need to have elevation data. And now we're able to provide it to them at a lower cost, somewhat of an economic stimulus program. The land information program at the state level was begun in 1989 to modernize land records. We get revenue of $8 per real estate document, which is recorded at the Register of Deeds office, so that $8 stays with the county. $7 of the recording goes to land records modernization at the state, and then we get a grant back, not every year, but most years we get a grant back from the state, and that's been averaging about $50,000 per year. Expenditures are software licenses, aerial photography, oblique photography, LiDAR, which we have new LiDAR coming. We make parcel map improvements. And then we also support other divisions. We support our internal CDD divisions with mapping, various permits, the websites that we have, the tools that we have. And then I also want to highlight the 911. We maintain address points and road center lines, and these road center lines have address ranges on them. And that is how that data goes to our 911 emergency communications dispatch, and that's how they dispatch emergency services, is with the data that we provide to them.
But those things of like tracking those, the accidents, and for public health, helping them to track information that they provide and programs that they're doing, and having maps that help them understand the distribution in the county, that our department works really closely with a lot more people than most people realize in this county. So, value added.
Value added.
Yep.
Here's just a screenshot of what we call our map gallery and the various maps that we have available. This is our compass map, county maps, and usually I'm good at acronyms. Now I forgot that one, but compass. You can get all your needs met right there for parcels, zoning, digital elevation models, soils, and our staff uses that all the time when we're working with citizens, and they use it as well. And we have one that's dedicated to zoning. We have one dedicated to topographic mapping. And then we have our fun one, which is the Perch Lake Scuba and Snorkeling map, because if you know, at the Homestead Park in Perch Lake, it's very clear, nice water, and scuba divers have been using that lake for many years, and they actually have a series of sunken treasures. There's a boat and a statue, and we've mapped those, or they mapped them with GPS, and they took underwater photographs, and so you can click on the map and bring up a photo of what's down there. That was actually recognized by the CEO of ESRI, which is the GIS software at our state conference, so that was kind of fun. Projects going forward, we have new photography this spring. That'll be coming out soon. Our Lidar acquisition of 2021. The previous Lidar, you saw the contours was 2-foot contours. This data will supply 1-foot contours. We were able to successfully partner with the USGS on that data, which significantly lowered our cost. Next generation 911, we're working with emergency communications on that. The USGS is going to change some coordinates on us, and there's going to be a national datum adjustment, and I'm not sure yet how that's going to play out, but that'll be in the future. We're looking at land use permit software. We're always implementing our new parcel fabric and improving our spatial accuracy. You saw that first paper map that I showed you there. That old data was superimposed upon our public land survey system. So some of where we first did mapping is not as accurate as we would like it. And we're going to be implementing some new ArcGIS technology in the future. And then last but not least at all is our groundwater surface water overview. I think Tim might have touched on this because he's the project lead for a lot of this information. Our staff member works with my division on GIS and data management and things like that. But we are currently doing a great job, I think, on our ground and surface water projects. We have our citizen groundwater monitoring program, nitrate isotope studies in the future, and our nitrate screening clinics. There was a clinic held yesterday in Richmond at the service center, and I believe over 200 people attended with their water samples and had those tested for nitrates. And we had an opportunity to discuss with them groundwater quality, their own water, our future programs, and I believe we identified several people that were over the drinking water standard. This is a map of our citizen groundwater monitoring program, which is our 5-year study. Our 2021 sampling year, we had 179 samples collected, and we averaged those over the 3-year period, 2019 to 2021. And you can see the spatial distribution of where their high nitrates were in those grid. Interestingly, if I was to overlay where our best soils are and our farmland would be in that same area. So it's kind of an interesting overlay. Moving on to our water screening clinics, we have, the purpose of that is increase private well owners to test their well annually for nitrates, and it's a great educational opportunity. We have 4 or 5 clinics every year. In 2021, we had 516 residents. I haven't had an opportunity to total everything for 2022. But since we started, 142 residents learned that their wells were over the EPA drinking water standard. We do have a video here of our groundwater specialist talking about our programs and things, but it's not going to work, and I'm not sure if we have sufficient time. But our clinics, again, so what do we have going on here? Our clinics, we've got our groundwater monitoring program, education and well protection. We do all of those things, big on education. Our future projects, isotope studies to determine nitrate sources, manure or commercial fertilizer. And through the clinic yesterday, I think we found several more participants for that. Other future things that Tim and Adam are working on is water runoff and event bacteria testing. So we have a diverse program in this division, comprehensive planning or long-range planning. We work on ordinances, grants, real property listing, so those people work extensively with the local assessors, landowners, attorneys, making sure everybody's legal descriptions are correct, their maps are correct for fair assessment. Our land information GIS group supports all of those programs with maps and data, and then we're also involved in our water quality research and education.
That's really good. You guys have any, there's just a ton there. I'm sure you're going to be writing down questions when you get home and emailing them. But do you have anything you'd like to throw out right now? Brett, you do such a good job.
Good.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, the mapping, that it took me a long time to learn how to use that. If you guys ever, don't be afraid to call Brett and say, hey, teach me how to use this, because it takes a little bit. You're an engineer, you probably have no problem with it, but I struggled with it. This stuff is great. It really is. So thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
I'd just like to add that in addition to all this, our web pages, the staff come up with story maps to help educate and explain bigger projects, and those are done a lot by our team, a good portion of them by different staff working together, but Brett's also a part of that, his team is. And I just point out too that he's come up with a little game that we actually as a team, the whole department played just a couple days ago, how to learn to use the mobile app for Compass on your phone. So if anybody would like the little game to help you learn how to use it, I'm sure Brett could get a few copies of the instructions and hand it out before you leave tonight.
So business item number 5, resolution authorizing application for a lake monitoring and protection grant presented by Tim Stever.
Thank you. Basically, we have kind of the background information here. What I'm up to here is we have, the division has worked on invasive species, aquatic invasive species in the past, but it kind of fell away due to other priorities over the years. And we learned that there was funds available to each county if they were applied for and that kind of thing. That didn't require a match, and so that kind of got my ears perked up. And we began to discuss at its staff level if this was something we wanted to do. And I looked at the land and water management plan that we have, and working on invasive species was consistent with several goals that you can see there. But the one that particularly interested me was this goal 5, and that is to restarting our invasive species program, I believe would allow us to better connect with some of the lake associations. We do some work with them now, but not that much, and some of them are working on invasive species and those sorts of issues, and I feel we could help support them better if we were a little more actively involved. And in order to do that, we are proposing to apply to DNR for a grant of $5,300. In order to apply for that, we would need to do a resolution indicating our intent to work on this issue, and I have that in your packet as well. And basically it sets forth what we would be working on generally, some very minor outreach projects, because it's a fairly small grant, but we'd have our hand in the game or our foot on the pavement there. And then it sets out who we would have the position. We'd have community development director authorized to sign agreements of this nature with DNR if we were successful, and I would then work on the day-to-day grant paperwork. So they wanted to know who the contact would be, and then, so if we would be successful, this resolution that I put forward there, we would allow us to then accept the grant and proceed. So we haven't submitted it, obviously, because we were seeking a resolution indicating that you'd want us to do this, and if we were successful with the resolution, then we would submit the grant in September, I believe. So that's what I'm here today to do.
Oh, real good. Let's get a motion, and then we can ask questions. Okay, we have a motion, we got a second. Do we have questions for Administrator Stever?
To me, it seems, I don't really have a question. It seems pretty straightforward. I support this for sure.
Okay, that's a good question. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous, and there you go. Tim, thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Okay. The finance report will not happen this evening because our financial manager is not here, neither is our administrator. So if you have any questions about the financials, which are in the packet, please send an email to either of those individuals and copy me so that I know your questions too. Thank you. If anybody has a question right now, Ellen could handle it.
Just my
Take a
department.
stab. We have nothing. We have nothing. Announcements and correspondence. Anybody have an announcement? Ellen?
Just wanted to mention that there will be a kids free fishing contest at Homestead Parklands on September 10th from 9 to 11 a.m. for kids 5 to 12, plus parents, of course, can join them. There will be some prizes awarded in a variety of categories, such as largest of one kind of fish or another, and they're also thinking about rough fish, the kind that we don't want in the lake, providing a reward for, instead of throwing them back, turning them in. And one other thing just to mention, we are also going to have a take back event to take back lead tackle. We recently had the loon couple that live, the loons, that live at the lake. One of them ingested a lead sinker and is, I believe, going to make it, but had to be taken in for care and was almost died on us. And it got a lot of publicity, a lot. Like 95,000 people saw the post on our Facebook page. So we thought that this is a great opportunity since so many people saw it, and Fleet Farm is donating $5 gift cards, and so are a couple other organizations contributing to it, Lund's Fly Shop and the Friends of Perch Lake. And so if people turn in old lead tackle, they will then get a $5 gift card as a thank you, and donated by those three organizations, and helping to help get it out of our water system. So spread the word, show up, bring your tackle, get some money to go buy some more. Thank you.
At the fishing contest?
At the fishing contest, so it's both for kids and for parents to turn in the tackle. I'll pass this around, you can look at it.
Sure.
There you go. I didn't print a whole bunch extra, but Thank you.
Going to wrestle up some kids and some lead tackle. Any other announcements, correspondence? Very good. Request for future agenda items?
Based on the public comment earlier today, I want to, I guess, look at the average, what our statute says for turn time for building permits, and then the average amount of staff hours it takes for a permit, and then how many people we have that do that or review those permits.
We don't do building permits, you mean our other permits?
Yeah, the permits that were referenced in the, not building permits, thank you.
Number of staff, average turnaround time. Could you tell me?
How long they take, and yeah, I think you said number of staff and average turnaround time already.
What else?
The number of
And number of permits?
Sean, can we talk about this just between us, how we want to massage this and get it on the agenda?
get like actually what we want to cover, sure.
Yeah, because I don't want this to devolve into a conversation off of this agenda, and I want to get it right for the next agenda. Okay. Any other agenda items? Ryan?
Just wanted to clarify, he talked about our Chapter 15 public hearing next month. That includes the slope revisions that are in that for the development that we've been talking about in past meetings, right?
Anything else? As always, you can add stuff, just give me a call on, happy to hear from you. Date of the next meeting is September, oh, did you have anything else? Okay. All right, date of the next meeting is September 15, 2022, everybody's welcome. Thank you very much, I adjourn the meeting.